Everybody, it's Monday, June 1st. Welcome to Scouting the League. It is just about time for BLESTO and NFS lists to get sent out to teams across the country. So what are these and what are scouts waiting for? I will talk about all of that today. Before we jump in, though, make sure you tune in to the next two Wednesdays as we will have a current GM as well as a current ACC head football coach on. We will talk roster building, influential people along the way, philosophy, and so much more. Our Tuesday draft scouting series rolls along this week. We go with a tight end down in the Bayou this week. It's going to be a really fun one. Do not miss that one. The film portion, along with that scouting report, can be found over on our YouTube page, so make sure you head there. Watch while you listen, and while you're there, subscribe. Just like everywhere, subscribe, follow, do all those things. Comment wherever you are listening and watching at. Give me a follow on Twitter as well. At RightStepADV is where you can find me. Of course, I am Rodrik David. My website, rsafootball.com, is where you can check out everything I'm doing. If you're a scout or aspiring scout, make sure you check out thescoutingcommunity.com for resources, information, notes, news, everything you need. All of it's at thescoutingcommunity.com. And if you need a pair of insoles to upgrade every pair of shoes you have, head over to bluemaca.com. Check the show notes for that link to that. And use code SCOUTING20 at checkout. Get a little discount on that order, as well as let them know we sent you. They are the best insoles you can get. They are highly rated. Whether you need recovery, whether you need that non-slip for performance, whether you need that turf toe, carbon split toe plate. Again, bluemaca.com has you covered. Use code SCOUTING20. Let them know we sent you. But let's get into it on BLESTO and NFS. You've probably heard of them. If you are in the scouting world, you definitely have. Maybe you know a little bit about them. Probably some misnomers. But again, you probably don't know that teams, which teams are actually part of each group. Again, that original BLESTO acronym, not what it used to be. Again, not going to be accurate. Again, mostly stays the same year to year. Get some additions, some subtractions. Again, NFS has gotten a little bit bigger while BLESTO has reduced a little bit. Still, very good services on both sides. Teams across the NFL pay into either service or they don't. There are a couple who are completely independent. These teams also have an NFL scout that is on their NFL franchise's staff that is assigned to either BLESTO or NFS and basically works for them. It's really a baseline of work for that service. Spend most of their time with that mindset of, hey, I am a BLESTO or NFS scout, but they are fully a rep, wearing the logo, getting paid by the team of that NFL organization that sent them. They have probably come into an NFL organization, gotten moved to that BLESTO or NFS position before they go back to hopefully being an area scout. That's kind of the progression we'll see. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But again, BLESTO and NFS, they are beholden to the GMs essentially that are running their organizations and are part of their group. So again, what they say goes. Hey, more specific, more detail, spend more time here, less time there. Again, the more they're going to be directed. GMs that have a hand in this, again, often delegating some of this to personnel directors, to college scouting people that are heavily involved. But again, these GMs are going to make that final decision on a lot of what happens with both BLESTO and NFS. Both are going to have directors. Both are going to have people that really keep them in charge, really good people, good scouting people, good organizers that run these. But again, they are always going to go back to those GMs to get that final say. These BLESTO and NFS scouts have areas. In the way we think of area scouts for NFL teams, they're going to be a little bit smaller there because they're going to be doing more micro level work. Thinking about some of those updates that are going to be sent to NFL teams throughout the fall. Jersey number changes, injuries that happened over the summer during fall camp and in the season, additions to the roster. Again, a little bit cleaner now without the spring portal. But again, any updates, any additions to the list, deletions, hey, this player all of a sudden is starting, is playing more, a bigger role. Again, those updates are going to happen. BLESTO and NFS scouts are going to be responsible for this throughout the fall, summer, fall, everything that's going on. For the majority of teams, though not all, a membership in the BLESTO or NFS means they get an initial list of players from every school that these BLESTO and NFS scouts have been to. Again, they are going to rely on the pro liaisons, on their past work, on, again, anybody that they can call, any source, any piece of information, height, weight, player rosters. They are going to rely on those. These lists are then going to get sent to NFL teams where they will continue to get their work done. And the lists are going to be finalized here at these NFS and BLESTO meetings, which are happening now, happening this week, the next couple weeks. Again, that is where these NFS and BLESTO groups are going to get together, talk about the players before they send that final list out to the teams. They're going to come with tiers, with grades. That's going to come to the NFL franchise. Scouts, area scouts, regional, national scouts, they're not going to see a lot of what BLESTO and NFS. They're just going to have all of a sudden a player at Ohio State has a or B or C tier. Again, somebody at Northern Illinois has a tier on them. I better go look at that player. Again, it's going to be translated to that team's specific grade scale, whether it's something in line with BLESTO or NFS, if it's something independent. Again, a lot of times a player shows up on a list and they don't know where on that BLESTO or NFS list they end up. Again, it becomes hey, this school becomes a in-person visit, a 2-visit school. Hey, we no longer need to worry about getting an in-person visit. It's going to be a school tape-only visit for this school. All these kinds of things are going to help area scouts specifically get their work done. That way they can pass it on to regional and national guys. Those regional and national, a little bit more advanced scouts, get a little bit more over the top, a little more experience. They're going to piggyback on these lists. They may see some of these lists, but again, they're really relying on their own area scouts to go through this initial list that they get from BLESTO or an NFS before they set their schedule, do all their work. A couple things that happen with these lists that I don't think all of it's good. I think these lists are incredibly valuable. I think what BLESTO and NFS does is really good, but there are teams that say stick to the list, don't go outside of that. Don't write underclassmen that have not been submitted. There's some schools they just flat don't submit their underclassmen. They do not write guys until BLESTO or NFS has written them. That can put you behind. Again, this is one of the really hard things, and I would say is one of the things that has allowed scouts to be a little bit lazy, to not be owners of their area. And I would challenge any area scout, own your area. Do not rely on those BLESTO and NFS lists. They're really, really good lists. They are never going to be 100%. You know your area, you know your schools, especially if you've been in there for at least a year, a couple of years. You're going to know that roster. You should know that roster up and down, even with changes with the portal. You know that roster. You know some of these players. You can do more work that's going to save you in the long run. It's going to allow you to be better and more prepared throughout the season. But again, you're going to hear it from college directors, GMs, people in your building. Hey, stick to your lists. Again, decide how you want to use that, but again, certainly one of the mantras that goes out. Again, entry-level scouts for BLESTO and NFS is usually the path. Again, it's often a scouting assistant for a year or two. You then get assigned to that BLESTO or NFS position, meaning this can be really their first full foray into assigning grades, to going through schools, to asking questions. It's a big net. Get them on the board. You rely on that GM, now the pro liaison at these college schools, to really give you their initial list. You've got to work through that. Again, for good reason, that list coming from the college side is going to be biased. So again, it puts a lot on that BLESTO or NFS scout to be right in their first area. And again, there are certainly players that get overlooked by an NFS and BLESTO, just like they get overlooked by area guys until late in the year. So again, owning your list, owning your areas is always going to be a good practice. Again, with portal, with transfers, and now eligibility, once again, this always makes things tough for BLESTO, NFS, and area scouts. Again, somewhat alleviated this year with no spring window. Rosters a little bit more settled. Again, we're talking about a pending 5-and-5 rule. Again, forget medical developmental red shirts. Again, we're still not quite there yet. So again, you really have to go through this roster. It's been a challenge for NFS, BLESTO, area, every NFL team. All right, where's this guy? Is this guy definitely coming out? I've got to work on him. Looks like he's played 4 years. What are we doing with this player? Again, you have to prepare as if they're coming out in this draft, and then it's always easy to just bump them. Maybe it's more work now, yes, but again, having the information while you're in the building, being able to ask the questions, being able to work on your sources, to see this player on the practice field in person is all really important for getting that draft grade, that draft profile right on a player. So again, having that good complete list, even if it's plus a couple extra players, you're going to be better off. Good scouts have largely gone through their list, their areas, their rosters by this point. Again, work done early means easier time to get answers in the falls. Again, it's always one of those tough things. Again, if you're not ahead of the curve, if you are waiting for players to pop up, a player suddenly on the radar as a prospect, the character, the pieces always get a little rosier. I think about my time in the Midwest area where, again, maybe as a sophomore, as a junior, I'm taking notes on every player that's starting, that gets mentioned. If he's out there on the field and something said about him, I've got a note about it. I remember multiple O-line specifically that I'm thinking about that were absolutely crushed, either as an underclassman early in the process. All of a sudden they have, a nice draft grade. They start getting some love from somebody out there. You go on for a second visit or you go in for their final year, man, outstanding citizen, hardest worker on the team. And I'm looking back at my notes and I'm thinking, hey, this is the opposite of what you said last year. Maybe I bring it up. Maybe I bring it up in a roundabout way just to see how they talk through it. But again, rosier picture for these guys when they are on the chopping block for the NFL draft, because again, schools want to promote their guys. They're going to try not to crush them. They're going to try to be honest in a roundabout way. But again, the earlier you're doing work on every player on a roster, the more length of the notes that you have on players, the better profile you're going to have. Again, that's one of the tough things about NFS and BLESTO. They're getting in there quick. It's often a 1-year snapshot and then they're moving on. Again, that is why area scouts have to not just rely on these BLESTO and NFS lists, have your own rosters, be working on multiple years in advance. So scouts, if you haven't already gotten the most of your list on time to get to work, June mandatory minicamp is always a date circled for scouts across the NFL. It's going to be really nice to be done. When your team clears out of the building, hopefully you're shutting your laptop and not thinking too much about your work until at least July, when those restrictions start coming out. Start thinking about that fall schedule. But again, BLESTO NFS, incredibly valuable. But for area scouts, do not just rely on them. And again, for everybody out there doing work on these guys, again, look through rosters, come up with your own list, because it will make you a better scout having to go through these. Questions at RightStepADV on Twitter is where you can find me. Hit me with your thoughts, comments, and questions. Back tomorrow with our draft scouting series. We have a current NFL GM this Wednesday. Fans of the dark side, you like that black hole, get excited. We are here. We will keep scouting here on Scouting the League.